Hey. Hey, welcome to retirement, Brian. Thank you for hosting another episode of Food Safety Chat Live on Friday. We're doubling up. Yeah. So if anybody tried to join us on my link, it was a continuous loop of me joining and of us joining, and it was driving us insane. So we just decided to ditch it, and we're going to get one last chat live out of Brian.
Casual Brian.
Oh, you have a different shirt.
Yes. So the official blue checkered whatever it was shirt that my wife absolutely hated is now retired. It is done.
Is it?
Now you got Casual Brian with glasses.
Oh my gosh.
And everything.
Who are you? You're so incognito.
That's right.
I wanted to know, though, if that shirt, I was going to ask you to hold it up to the light, because after 5 years, there's got to be, a little bit of worn out here and there. Can you see through it?
I only used it for the chat. It hung in the closet, and I would bring it out for the chat. My wife would roll her eyes, and then I would do the chat.
Well, thank you for bringing me over here for this is really the after show, the post show of Brian's last food safety chat. And right. The first question is, where are you going for retirement? Usually everybody says Disneyland, but where are you going?
Yeah. So we live in Colorado, as people who have followed the chat know. And we are moving to Tennessee. So did a lot of research around that, spent a lot of time. So over the last year, there have been a couple remote chats and interviews. So one of those I did was with Patty McNamara at Alara down in Chattanooga. That's why. So we did a trip down there, met with Patty, who's an awesome guy doing good work. And then it was also kind of checking the area out, because we work in quality and food safety. So we research stuff. So a lot of online research, a lot of looking at different areas. And really that first trip was knocking stuff off the list. What do we not like? So it's obviously very pretty areas, but Nashville, too big, too much. No, not interested in Nashville. Kind of up in the corner, in the eastern corner of the state, as you go up there, there's an area called Tri-Cities. And we went and looked around there. Beautiful up there, but we found out that driving from Knoxville up there was a good 2.5 hour drive. And it was like, wow, okay, this is really a long ways away. Maybe this is too far away. And looked around in Knoxville, not bad. Looked around in Chattanooga, very pretty down there. A lot of traffic in Chattanooga. They were doing a lot of road construction, so maybe it was biased. And so that's kind of how we went through that. And we went, Michelle, in the middle of the summer to kind of see, all right, what's the weather like? Because we lived East Coast. I lived in Pennsylvania when I ran quality with Bon Grand Cheese. And you kind of get used to East Coast humidity, Pennsylvania. So we wanted a point of comparison. Now, it's not like we're Austin, where you guys are going to be down there, where it's crazy humid. But we went to Tennessee. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. And surprisingly, as much driving as we did, not a lot of bugs. I was surprised by that. It wasn't super, bugs everywhere.
Oh, nice. That's a plus.
Yeah. So then we did another trip earlier this year to kind of check it out winter-wise. And when they had that big storm that went through earlier this year, we were right after that. And winter there wasn't that bad from what we saw. And so it's like, okay, let's kind of do this.
Good for you. And you've got the bare bones behind you, and I've got the bare bones behind me. I've already moved my plants to Austin. So it's, bare bones between the both of us.
Yep. One thing in life that's a constant is change. Nothing stays the same.
No. How are you feeling about your clock being moved by movers? The clocks are that's very
Yeah, so all of our furniture, and so people would kind of freak out for the first chats because they thought this was like artificial, like fake background. No, this is all real.
Yeah.
And we spent a lot of time and resources over the years collecting Stickley Furniture and Eckerness Furniture and things like this. And so, yeah, that's a real Stickley clock. And so it's not one of those ones where it got the little, AA battery mechanism behind it. It's full blown Stickley mechanical clock. And as you can see, I've let it wind down. So it takes about 8 days for it to wind down. So unlike other shows where it's going back and forth,
Right.
nope. So yeah, the movers are bringing in a specialty like clock guy who will then prep it and get it ready for shipping and all that stuff. So
I've got a few people asking for a link, and we don't have a shareable link, do we?
well, let's see. Let's try. I mean, so this is the link for the show.
Yeah.
Maybe this will work. I don't know.
Okay.
We can try that guy.
Is it in the chat?
Yeah, I just threw it in the chat.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Okay. Let me see if I can put it on the LinkedIn.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to work or not because, yeah, I mean, this is so one of the rules. So Michelle and I were talking about this too is when you live stream and things like this, things aren't always pretty, right? They can, you're juggling for sure sometimes. So
Right.
this is the link for the main StreamYard, but I don't know if this is an admin link, so I'm not quite sure.
You did warn me about this, how things can go awry. and I thought, well, I've tested this out. Everything has worked out fine. And then of course it's live time and nothing worked. So I'm going to see if I can get these links out to a few people. But yeah.
Oh, okay, good. I think I got this, Michelle. So ignore that first one. That is a link to admin. So here is a YouTube link. This should work now. And let's see if I can find. Okay. Let me mute my mic so we don't.
Okay. That. We're getting there. Let's see.
And there we go. So that should be the LinkedIn as well. So let us know, guys. Tim, if you can check that, please, to make sure that.
I see a couple of people on, I think.
Yeah, so that should be the viewing links there.
Perfect. And I will also put it on YouTube. I mean, not YouTube.
So I included links for YouTube and LinkedIn.
Okay, great. And edit. Here is the link to his chat. So Tim and Cortland, you missed it. We were laughing because somehow I managed to get Brian back on his chat. He thought he was gone.
It's like Joe was saying, we'll see more of you. Oh, here I am already an hour later.
I did put a link on a post on LinkedIn, so we'll see.
Yep, I just saw it pop up on LinkedIn here. So, hey, Patty. Speak of the devil, we were just talking about you, Patty, and if you missed that.
Yes, we were. All right, so do we have Court? Thank you for making it, Cortland, Tim, Patty.
All the cool kids are here now.
All the cool kids. I know Elena's trying to get on. She'll be on in a minute. Thanks for not giving up. I'm your new host, Michelle Wollenzine.
We've got the German names going here today, don't we?
Uh-huh. Yeah, really, though.
I thought Armentrout was super German. I think you got me beat.
Tim or myself? Me? Wollenzine. Wollenzine is very... Wollenzine.
Aye. Yeah, so yeah, Armentrout originally when they Americanized it. So originally it was Ermentrout.
Ermentrout. Chica made it. Nice. Let's see.
Welcome. And of course, Patty, nothing but good things about you. You guys are doing awesome work down at Alara. Keep it up. Austin,
Thank you.
CFS, nice.
Yep, everybody's coming.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, Brian and I were just talking about his, his move from. Well, actually, you were saying that the bugs aren't so bad in Tennessee.
Yeah, for Tennessee, not too bad. So, so Patty, that's what we were kind of talking about, is the trip that I came down to visit you guys and interview you and learn about Alera and all the stuff that you guys are doing. So, we really liked Tennessee.
That's great. Let's see how your first summer and your first winter.
Yes, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
And again, right? No place is perfect. That's for sure. And here, I'll do it. I'll do this for you, Patty. There's his website.
all right.
I feel like I'm sitting down too far.
Let me see. Is that the? Let's try this one. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and send the. No, I asked. Oh, Tim saying one of the links I sent was putting them in as a guest. Come on, Tim.
Yeah, that was the first bad one that I sent.
Here we go.
No, we don't want Tim as a guest. That's just a recipe for disaster right there.
There we go. No.
Just kidding. Just kidding. Yeah, Tim lives in Nashville. He's one of the guys that I was able to meet and have lunch with my wife, which was awesome. Tim's a super cool guy.
Yeah, I got to chat with Tim for a while, and very, very cool. So will you guys be playing pickleball together?
We're not that old.
I don't know.
I'm sure we'll be dropping by to see Tim at some point.
So Brian's going to share some of his wisdom and knowledge on podcasting, which obviously I have a lot to learn going from recordings to live. So my first live was a fail. And that's okay. I didn't panic. I had an expert with me. Maybe that was planned. And he went ahead and just handed over his StreamYard link to me, and here we are. But, tell me about, let's hear about some of those. What's happened to you over the last 5 years? What are some of those, oh crap moments?
Well, yeah, I mean, so a really good lesson today with kind of getting this thing going and set up. It's behind the scenes. This stuff is hard. It's hard to get everything working correctly. To have your microphone, which you can kind of see my microphone sitting off here on the side, and setting up all of this stuff. And it's an evolution and figuring all these things out behind the scenes and putting that cadence together to create and produce this is not as simple as turning your camera on. That's for sure. And like, so you just saw my background. So as my camera adjusted lighting because I was screwing with stuff, figuring all that out and what's the right level of information. Key lessons I learned along the way too is sound, super important. Your picture, people will tolerate issues with your video, but if your sound is good, they're there with you. So today was a good one with Joe. Joe's, for whatever reason, on his side, his camera decided to not cooperate. And we were still able to have a really, really good talk because the sound was good. There were times on the chat, Michelle, where all of a sudden the camera would just stop and I was by myself. And panicking is you can't panic, right? So you got to kind of do a little dance and hope that they're able to get back on. Having guests with good internet connection and bandwidth is super important. So I had created a cadence of how I would create the show. And so generally, I think overall, so with the creation of the show, putting out the notes, putting the information on, then going back and creating the videos and the transcripts and all of these things behind the scenes for the database, I probably spent about 8 hours a week on all that stuff. And I slowly whittled that down over time where I had a really good system in place. Generally, I think over the 5 years, I had maybe 3 or 4 times where the guest had to bail. And, it's like, oh my God, I had a crisis. And then I had to have somebody come in and fill in. And I was able to do that in most cases. This last month, as people noticed, I missed quite a few. And that was because of the, oh crap, stuff taking place on my side with the sale of my home. So we put our house on the market and we did a pre-sale before it even went live. And this is just kind of one of those lucky things where somebody was looking for my home and it was the exact perfect fit and they bought it on the spot. That never happens, right? But because that happened, that meant now I had to figure out where to live. So it was like, yay, I sold my house. And it was like, oh shit, I sold my house. Where are we going to live? And so trying to figure out in Tennessee, what to do. Because trying to move house to house, and this from what you're doing with your moves, not a good thing, because then you're compromising. It's like, oh, we'll move to this house and it's okay. But, no, I don't want to do that. I'm a planner, right? As I'm sure most of you know. Just, okay, fine. We'll rent for a year. We'll take our time. We'll look around. Maybe we'll build a house. Who knows? But at least we've identified where we want to live. So that's the good part.
Yeah. Well, I think what we're doing is settling for right now and renting until we decide the right place. We're not in a hurry. Right. I got time.
Yep, absolutely. So that was the key thing that I learned on the chat is set up a system. I would build out the guest list a quarter in advance. I found out that if I went too far in advance, people's schedules changed and they weren't able to attend or they forgot. And, kind of building that out. Putting together the notes. So we were talking about this. So I had a limit. It was 1 page of notes. And part of that too is within this is familiarity and persuasion. And I learned a lot of this from Scott Adams with his podcast, As I Learned and Evolved. And so having those rituals, having the coffee, and so the same thing that I say every morning when we start the chat, and the way I end the chat, and that was all created very deliberately through just your tinkering of figuring out what was the right way to do it. And most importantly, for the chats, it was always about the guest. And one of the things I would do when we would prep for the show on Mondays, and Austin and Tim and other guests here, Cortland evaded it. I tried to get Cortland on the show. He wouldn't do it. So maybe I will come back, Cortland, to interview you. But the show is always about the guest. And I would start that conversation with, what would you like to talk about this week? What are the things that you're seeing? What are the things that are interesting to you? Because the show is about the guest and getting the information and sharing their knowledge with the audience. And that was the important part. And what evolved then with the chat is this fantastic interaction that we developed. And so a lot of people that are joining us again here today, which is amazing, are some of the regulars on the chat who joined and participated and then started giving each other crap, right? Yes. And yeah, a lot of these people have never met face to face. Tim and I never met until I did that trip back to Tennessee, and then we were able to have lunch together. You'd never know it.
That was the first one. I know, it's amazing that I would never have known that.
That's awesome. So we get to develop friends through this platform. You and I have never met in person.
Right.
But it feels like we have.
Yep, definitely. Same with Elena. I haven't met her in person, but we talk all the time, and yeah, very cool. Huh. Tim doesn't play pickleball. I love the disclaimers. Everybody's like, I don't play pickleball. It puts you in a certain age bracket, I guess.
There you go.
Yeah. Brian, just to roast myself a little bit, I sent Brian some notes. So when he just mentioned he provides a 1-pager, which I was a guest on his, I provided him. You could already tell where this was going day one. I've got him color coded, and Brian nicely said, wow, you've got some really thorough notes. And so I said, well, we can throw those right out the window. And he's like, gladly. So,
No, I would say
no,
that.
you didn't. You didn't. But yes, I have quite a few notes. And I'm not a scripted person, but I want to make sure that I stay on track, whatever that track may be. I want the guests to be able to lead the conversation. But if it tends to go somewhere else, then I have something to resort back to.
Oh, there you go. And really what I learned on this too is that, so I would have about 4 different topics or so that I would want to go over during the chat. And what I would tell the guests was, if we get to about 80% of this information, we're doing a good job of having a nice flowing conversation.
Yeah.
My job was to set up the softball question. It would be, well, hey, Michelle, how you doing? I see there's a lot going around recalls. What are you seeing there around recalls? Right. And then we'd already kind of worked out what we wanted to talk about on that side. So my job was to set it up so that you could hit the home run.
Yes, that's good. Speaking of, I'm going to play a little game, just a little intermission here. So, and yeah, I'm going to go to page 3 of my notes.
All right, got it.
No, it's page 2. We're going to play What Would You Rather? Right? So, would you rather? These are usually on my show. I do quick fire questions, and I'll usually ask, what are your 3 favorite foods? I'm going to go ahead and ask you that. What are your 3 favorite foods, Brian?
Favorite foods. Coming from dairy, I'm a huge cheese guy. I love cheese. And so you can get this at Costco every now and then. So I managed quality in North America for Group Lactalis. And so then we would get in cheese from Europe, and you see it in Costco now. So there's a raw sheep's milk cheese in Costco. I think the Costco version here in the US is probably pasteurized, called Petit Basque. And it comes in a small, it's probably about a kilogram cylinder, wax coated, soft ripened sheep's cheese. Fantastic cheese, fantastic. So I love different types of cheese. What other foods do I really love? Nuts. My wife thinks we're huge Costco people, right? And so I'll get the giant bags of nuts, and that's like my favorite snacky thing. Is like,
they're fancy mixed nuts with the
big mixed nuts and like the giant bag of cashews,
macadamia.
Love those. Costco's awesome. What else do I tend to eat a lot of? So I'm the cook in the house, and so we rarely eat out. So I do a lot of cooking. So steaks and all those type of things. So we tend to focus more on the savory side of things. So I would say they're really expensive right now, but I love a good fillet. I'd say that's number 3.
Good. I'm glad to hear. If you were going to say like cheese, nuts, and lettuce.
Yeah.
Okay.
Low carb works best for me. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I like a good steak. All right. So now, on with the quick fire. Would you rather have a surprise audit or a public crisis?
Oh, that's easy. Surprise audit, right?
Right.
Public crisis is you failed, right? If that happens, it means everything that you've done to prevent that from happening didn't happen. And now you're just in crisis mode where you are trying to salvage whatever's left. And that was something when I would work in companies for CEOs, and I would explain this to them and say, if we have a recall, it means we failed. And my job is to keep that from happening in the first place. Surprise audits. So at WhiteWave, I worked with a really good quality person named Tom Weister, who's now at Starbucks. And he always said, we need to be, you hear this all the time, audit ready, right? You need to be audit ready all the time. Mm-hmm. And he created, between our plants at WhiteWave when he was there, he actually found the guy who made the big belts that the professional wrestlers wear when they win the championship.
Yep.
And then they hold them up,
yep.
And then they wear them around everywhere. He had a big belt made. It was huge. and it was like, it had the White Wave logo on it, and it was audit ready champion. And then he set up a competition between all the plants every year for that belt. And then they would go through and have audits, and then there would be a winner declared. And then they would take it to the plant, and the senior leadership would go to the plant, and all the workers in the plants would have their pictures taken with that belt. And it was just the awesomest thing.
Fun.
It was so cool.
That's creative to have a heavyweight belt for something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
It was really awesome.
All right, let's go to the next one. Would you rather have a broken process or disengaged team?
The first one can be fixed. The second one can't. I'm going with a broken process. You
Okay.
can fix that. If you have good people, you can fix it. If you have people who are not interested or don't, you're not going to succeed.
Mm-hmm. Corporate role or consulting?
This was an interesting question, Michelle, because there's advantages to both.
Yes,
and
there
so
are.
it's in a company, you have the comfort of that paycheck that comes every time. On the negative side, now you're in a company and you're locked into that company, and you can't necessarily share what you're doing outside of the company. And now you have to deal with, especially when you're at senior levels, now you're dealing with the politics of that company and everything else that goes with that. If you're on your own, you're kind of on your own, and there's a whole lot of up and down. When I worked for companies, the groups that used to drive me nuts would be like marketing, right? So I was always fighting with marketing. So it was me and chief legal counsel versus marketing. And it'd be like, well, Brian, we want to say soy free on our product. And I'm like, no, you're not saying soy free on the product.
Right.
Here's the regulatory implications. Here's what that means from this standpoint. Well, everybody else is doing it. And then they would go and talk with Roger, and Roger would say, it was like mom and dad. And Roger would say, well, have you already talked with Brian? Yes, I have. Well, what did he say? Well, Brian said no. All right, what are you bugging me for? But, and the reason for that story is, once I started my own business, and I had my consulting business, and so still do in some ways, for 8 years, is once I had my own business, the actual technical knowledge of what I had relied on to be successful in this field became a very small part of what I did. Now I had to do marketing. Now I had to do sales. Now I had to do accounting, all these things. And my respect for what sales and marketing people went up tenfold, because that stuff is super, super hard. And part of the reason for the chat was exactly that, is getting this message out and helping people understand why these things are important from a people and a process standpoint. Kind of a long answer, sorry.
No, and I think when I met with Tim, I told him how much I admire the sales and marketing people. I latch on to them on LinkedIn because of the creativity that they have, in food safety and in quality. We're not necessarily creative in marketing and sales. So it's really difficult to build that brand and put it out there. I find everything that you've said, the behind the scenes is so much harder. And you're right. The technical expertise is just a small part of it, very small part of it.
And that's why with Tim and Cara and other people that I called out earlier today, they aren't salespeople. They are partners in your business. And
Absolutely.
that's important. If Tim's coming to me as part of Pure Bioscience, he is coming to me with my best interests at heart. And you say, okay, well, here's the best product for your plants, and here's what I think you should be doing. And if he thinks there's something else that may be a better alternative, he's going to tell you, right? He's there to help you succeed. And that's very important. That's why Dr. Marshall at Eurofins is so successful. He is there to help you succeed as a client.
Yes. And I'm sorry, Tim, you are not a salesperson, but, and I think there's a big difference between listening and offering solutions than being put in a category as a salesperson. A salesperson's going to push something on you, whether you need it or not. And they're not really going to hear what you have to say. They're just there to get their product in your hands or their service. Whereas, partners are going to listen, and they're going to do everything they can. So you're right. It's probably the wrong. Sorry to put you in that category. Okay, so we did the would you rather, and if anybody else has a would you rather, go ahead and put it in the chat and let's see, because I'm sure some of you probably have some better in-depth that Brian really well. So would it be, red wine, yellow wine, or yellow wine, white wine?
No yellow wine. No, thank you.
Yikes. So you are wrapping up. You wrapped up, except for this episode that we're on your StreamYard. But what would you like to see as you step away? What would you like to see other people that are doing podcasts and lives and interviewing and having discussions around food safety? What would you like to see? In what direction would you like to see that going? Are you, there's a balance. We have some that have the technical expertise. We have some that have the cultural piece. But what direction would you like to see that go?
Well, I think number one is everybody has to kind of figure it out for themselves, right? Right. What's the right way to share my knowledge with the world? So what I really love about Cortland and what he's doing is, right, so with his lab and everything that he does, he's sharing his expertise. And when we get into the technical topics, like when we were talking with Purity IQ up in Canada, man, the comments were flying because Cortland, that's his world. That's his expertise. Anybody who can share technical expertise and do it in a non-technical way, that's gold, right? So I would challenge Cortland at some point in time to start thinking about doing this in some way, because the whole lab thing it's a big mystery to people. And in a lot of ways, labs have been commoditized. And if you go down that road and you own a lab, that's a path to failure. So you have to figure out, what are the value adds that I can provide to people? Someone who did a very good job of figuring out the right way to contribute for her was Melody Gee. And so what she's done with women in food safety, fantastic. I first met Melody in her first job. So she started at SQF and we became friends there. And so I like to say that I hopefully helped her in some ways to help develop her career. And we've kept in contact over the years, and she's been fantastically successful. But she's done a great job of doing the corporate side and working in that sphere, and then also doing the public side with women in food safety and growing that. And she's done a fantastic job. And that was where she wanted to be, and she did a great job.
Where do you feel like you've contributed the most?
Well, really, so I was very proud of my book and writing the book. And really I think from that standpoint, one of the key lessons, and this is something that I never see so obviously I've been to a lot of plants, a lot of companies. I've seen a lot of quality systems. So I was on the SQF Technical Advisory Council for 6 years, really seeing the mechanism. I ran consulting, training, auditing, and certification groups with Eurofins North America. So I've seen that side of the business. Really what people need to understand, and this is something that I think is really missing in systems, is we're really, really good at documenting what to do when things go right. Who cares? What do the people in your plant or your headquarters or wherever it is within your company, what do they do when it doesn't go right? That's more important, because that forces decision-making on the fly. So that load of milk shows up at the cheese plant and it's warm. It should be rejected. But now all of a sudden a giant struggle takes place because the operation guys don't want to shut down the plant. And the quality guys are worried about that, right? You need to determine in advance from a green, yellow, red standpoint of what's good, what's marginal, what's no way, oh my God, that's horrible. What are those predetermined decisions that we're going to go through if this scenario happens? And companies don't take that step. And so there was 4 different sections in my book, and I go into all of that into ridiculous detail on how to go through that process. And people really need to understand how to do that, and most people don't.
One of the things that you mentioned in your last episode, your last episode was that you talked about we have work instructions, right? We have these work instructions, but then what happens when something goes wrong?
Yeah.
And if we're writing work instructions from an office, we're not going to see what goes wrong.
Yeah.
Right? You've got to sit, you've really got to work alongside them and see everything that is everything that's taking place, not just what's successful, but all of the failures and systemic issues that are happening as well.
Yep. That's a hard thing for quality and food safety people to swallow, is some things, but you're not the expert.
Right.
Okay, fine. You know how to write documents. You know how to structure things. You know how to make an auditor happy. Fantastic. You are not the production expert. You are not the purchasing expert. You are not, et cetera, et cetera. They are. Your job is to facilitate and help them produce documentation and processes that help them do their job, not yours.
Right. We have an anonymous.
Yeah, a long comment here from LinkedIn user. Let's see if I can pull this guy up here. Yeah. The first sentence here is the key piece. And sorry, it looks like it wrapped around. Yeah, listening's both ways. I worked in my past, I worked in a company, and there was a VP of operations, really super brilliant guy. And you would go and sit down and talk with him, Michelle. Mm-hmm. But after a while, his mind would start going in a different direction, and he would start doing this. And you know he was no longer listening.
Right.
You could tell him at that point in time, I love you, right? And he'd go, right. It wasn't, yeah. So you might as well just stop talking at that point in time.
Right.
Which is why when I would create work instructions, I would always go down the floor and go to an area of what I was focusing on. And I would essentially say, I'm the new guy. Teach me how to do your job. And then I would take notes. And then I would ask them questions of, well, okay, great. What if this goes wrong? What do you do? And they say, oh, well, I adjust this. Great. What if that doesn't work? Oh, well, then that means that this isn't working because it's steamed. What would you do then? Well, then I'm going to get the maintenance guys, because at that point in time, it's beyond me. I can't fix it then. Interesting. Right.
I've had clients that have asked for a food safety plan, and without even wanting me to visit them on site, or just a one-day visit. And I said, that's impossible. And now it's a requirement. If you want something like that, the commitment is that you will allow me to be on site while writing a plan, because that shows their commitment, instead of just having someone sit remotely and put together a food safety plan.
Right. A big warning bell for me in my business was, hey, we just found out we need to be certified to X standard if we want this customer. Can you help us create a bunch of documents to make them happy?
Right.
Ooh, that's not good. Right. If you're creating a quality system to satisfy an auditor, that's the wrong reason.
Yep.
Yeah. Bob Garfield, who ran SQF before the current team there, really good guy. And he used to say at conferences all the time, if you're getting SQF certified just to hang a certificate on the wall, don't do it. Don't do it. That's not the right reason. And he was right.
A lot of people have been showing up for 5 years every Friday. Yeah. Have a lot of people. Has there been a lot of turnover over the last 5 years where you get waves? Do you have your diehards?
Portland. I think, it kind of gelled over the last couple of years, right? And because, as I say on the chat quite a bit, or I guess I got to start using past tense, is that it became part of their ritual, right? And carving out an hour a week is a huge commitment for someone to do that, right? You've got all kinds of other stuff going on, and to take that time and tune in and contribute is a giant commitment. That says a ton about the people who were here.
What do you
Part
want
of
to
what I
say to
did
the
learn.
people who showed up
What?
for you? What do you want to say to the people who showed up?
Oh well, yeah. I mean, they, as I was saying, kind of closing out my last episode, is they made the show, right?
Yeah.
Their back and forth, their contribution, Cortland's snarky remarks every now and then. That brings life to the show. What we do in food safety and quality doesn't have to be stuffy. It doesn't have to be 70 slide PowerPoint. Every year in the US, 50,000 people become sick to food poisoning. And no, that's, it's not what it's about. One of the things I always used to say when I would give food safety talks in companies, in plants, and meet with my guys is, if I can't go out on the floor of this plant right now and pick some product off that line and take it home and feed it to my grandchildren, I have to know about that immediately. And if you can't say the same, you have to tell me.
Right.
Because we forget. What we do becomes abstract. We're making frickin' food for people. And what we do, and I think this is part of this too, of why we sometimes in this career field have a hard time letting go, because what we do is very much tied to morality, right? We're determining what's good and right. And we're not simply just showing up and well, I don't want to say simply because that diminishes that, but we're not working in accounting and balancing the books and preparing the budgets. And we're making food for people. And we always have to, we forget this in companies. We become too insular, Michelle. We have to, one of the things that we need to strive to do in quality and food safety is be the representative of the people outside of the company, the people who are actually eating the food, and making sure that those standards come through. And what they care about, that's quality. What they care about is quality. Our job is to also make sure it doesn't kill them.
Yes, I think, I don't know how many people go on TikTok, but I've been working on trying to working on educating consumers. Yeah. And by going on TikTok, the algorithms are crazy, and I'm not a TikTok person, but you see what some of the consumers do with food, and you just, it's cringy. I don't know if I'll ever be able to educate what's going on out there. You can start with the basics, but so we have to do everything we can on our end. And really, when it comes to the consumers, it really does go a little bit rogue.
Yeah. So. TikTok, raw chicken challenge. Woohoo. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I have seen all kinds of things, and it's mind boggling to me.
Yeah. You want to have some fun sometime. Go start a fight with a raw milk advocate.
No, I don't think well, there's plenty of them here. I'm in Iowa. And so there's, a lot of raw milk advocates here. They sell them in parking lots, from the bed of a truck. They're everywhere. But no, I'm not really game for that.
Right, and they're doing it for money, right? Yeah. They're and they don't have your best interests at heart.
No. Now, I learned this, but I know we're at the 4-minute mark. And that's about what I got right for today. I can wrap it up. I just can't kick it off. I'll get there. I promise y'all. I will get there. This was a great learning lesson. And, what do you have to say? What do you want to close out with? What do you want to leave, behind with everybody, for everybody?
Well, and it was, this piece of it is everybody's path is different. And so hopefully you're able to kind of help everybody along the way and give them a little bit of advice for their path. And that's success, because part of it is, if you look at this from an egoistic standpoint, that's not the right way to do it, right? Is what's mine? No, right? Who cares? Was I able to help others along the way? were the things that people learned able to prevent an illness? We'll never know, right? We'll never know. But this is the group of people that makes that happen. And that's good enough, right? That's good enough.
Well, you helped me, and you've helped me to become a voice, and I appreciate that. I've enjoyed watching you every week, not for 5 years, but for the last couple of years. But I do have all of your archives because I paid that $10, and so it's been great. But honestly, you and Francine and everyone else has been an inspiration. But I really have watched how you do things, and I understand that consistency, routine, that's what keeps people coming back. And of course, we've got, the little bit of hazing in the comments, which is I'm always looking forward to, and your dad jokes. So, but thank you for all of that.
Yeah, we're all just people trying to do this, right? We're not QA food safety machines, right? We're people. And so that's the right way to approach it.
Yep. I would ask everybody that's on this chat if you could just go ahead and be a keyboard warrior and give us your best retirement emojis on here. I see all kinds of emojis, the googly eyes, the sad eyes, but let's go ahead and give some celebration emojis because we are really going to retire this StreamYard after I'm done. Thank you for saving my day, Brian. It was without a doubt nothing that I expected.
No, that's the key with this, right? Is you just keep going and you learn and you grow, just like everything else in life. So one of the things you asked me for on this as well too is a dad joke, final dad joke.
Yes.
So I did this dad joke on the chat before, but it was one of my favorite ones. So we're going to revise. We're going to rehash this dad joke. So gotta do the way you set up the dad joke. Are you ready? Are you ready for the dad joke?
Ready for the dad joke?
Okay, here it goes.
Deliver the dad joke.
Michelle.
Brian.
When bacteria want to talk with each other, how do they communicate?
Don't know.
They use their cell phones.
He got the little applause. Oh, great one. I envy you. 3 years, I'll get there.
And so Noodle just showed up for guest appearance.
Oh, right on, Noodle. Happy
Hey,
trails.
Noodle.
Oh, is so Noodle going to be okay on this road trip?
Well, dogs never like change, so we'll see how that goes.
Yep.
So for some of the older people out there, so SCTV in Canada was a comedy show, and so John Candy and all those guys came out of it, and they did like a spoof of horror movies, and they did the 3D thing. Did you ever see that?
No.
So they didn't actually have the money to do 3D, so they would do fake 3D. So when they would do something, they would do this: look into my eyes at this mean dog, and then they would go ooh. Ooh,
that's the 3D.
That's Noodle in 3D.
That's a double eye roll, like all kinds of eye rolls. I think we should all depart, leave Brian with our eyes rolled in the back of our head. And thank you so much for helping me through this and for also showing up after your last hour. I really, really do appreciate everything. And I know from all of us, we're going to miss you. And
thank you. Yeah.
Hope that you make it back. And, Cortland said he would go on just for you to make one more comeback. Right, Cortland?
There you go.
So here we
Thanks,
are.
everybody. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you so much. And happy trails, Brian. Cheers, everybody. Bye-bye.